Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Bear League Project, how the heck are you? I have to hit a couple more buttons before we start the show. I have the man, the legend, the way of life, Jacob Israel with us. This guy is awesome. He shared some information with me yesterday, and I said, man, can I just hit the record button now? Because his life story is amazing. And what has brought him to the point that he is at now is absolutely nothing short of incredible. He used to be a producer and writer for the World Wrestling Entertainment industry, the WWE. He's also worked with very large Christian channels and made them grow extremely fast. And if you've never talked to him before or heard what he has to say before, once you listen to Jacob, you're going to understand why. So we're going to talk about what it's like in those industries, what it was like for him, his prophecy, his connections on prophecy. Even though I'm agnostic, what he presents to the table makes a lot of sense. So this is really exciting. It is an honor to speak with you, Jacob. How the heck are you, my friend?
Man, are you kidding me? I'm cloud nine. I'm excited. I'm so happy to be on your show. This is really weird because I'm first of all, I'm a big fan of yours. And I have been for, the YouTube world has just opened up in like leaps and bounds and over just the last year because my channel's kind of just exploded. And I was introduced to the world that you are like one of the great lights here, man. And we were talking about this yesterday. We're kind of patting each other on the back. And it's weird because months ago, I put an intention out there. I said, man, this guy, he's just such a great interviewer. And he's just, he's so open and he's not judgmental and condemning, and he's got this great spirit. And I know he has a faith in something, and he's like meant to do great things. And I just really want to be on his show because he's a much bigger channel. No, no, but
at your pace that you're growing though, man, not for long.
So what ended up happening was I put a comment on one of your videos. I did the same thing on KJ, Scariest Movie Ever, because I'm also a fan of his. And it's interesting. He interviewed me, and now here you are doing the same. And it really has a lot to do with my life and your life and everybody else's life. It's kind of like operating in this, I don't know, golden rule, which is, all things are possible with faith. And if you do for the betterment of others, you get great joy and peace in the process, So, yeah, man, I'm fired up. I have been a writer, sure, WWE. I was one of the two writers, actually. I was one of the head writers between 99 and 2001 when they were getting slaughtered by WCW. And I came in and I was kind of this green guy. And it's amazing how all this worked out because I went to college on scholarship. I was too sick for sports. So because I have this thing called Crohn's disease, and I was in and out of the hospital when I was young. And I ended up going to school on scholarship for like acting because I couldn't do sports. And that was kind of like, I didn't have, the best childhood. Like my mom she was a single mom. We were, poor in a very wealthy town. My biological father took off, and, it's childhood. Kids can be mean, especially when you're sick and taking medication. They called me half a pizza. No, but life was good. And I had this, belief that I was going to go on and do these things. And I believed since I was a kid, I was going to be a writer for WWE, which is weird because where I grew up, they had an office, about 5 minutes away. So we'd ride our bikes there. And I kind of intended from when I was a kid that I'd be the writer. So I came in when they were getting beat by WCW. And within about a year's time, about a year and a half's time, we basically took them over. Vince became a billionaire and everything changed. I created a couple of great groups. There's I don't know if you know who Stevie Richards is, but he's a good friend of mine. He has a channel on YouTube. It's a great channel. He's really into fitness, and he's also into this world as well, trying to get out of this world, I should say. And so I created this group called The Right to Censor. Vince had wanted to do something on censorship, so I saw it as an opportunity because I believe that I wasn't there. It wasn't like that wasn't my job, but I felt like I was like sent there so that I could sort of learn how to influence people. And so what I did was I'd write these things. I don't even think Vince knew what I was putting on the air at times, especially with Stevie's group. And slowly but surely, what I did was I tried to turn the show from being, it was really graphic and it was really vulgar. And I believe that was just cheap. And it seems like that's the direction that entertainment has gone today. It's very hard to find very quality programming right now, which is why I love YouTube because it at least provokes thought. So I decided to slowly but surely kind of create this group called The Right to Censor. And, you know, I also wrote for Rock and Stone Cold, and Undertaker was my guy, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley Paul was my guy.
What was that like?
Oh, it was intimidating at first, but you know, like I'm a guy that I was on the plane with Vince, and he used to make fun of me because I'd be reading the Bible. Like I'm a man, I was sick growing up, very sick. So, you know, when you're sick and you're facing, you know, like you could die, and you know things aren't that great, you start to say, well, hang on a second, there's got to be more. So even early on, because my biological father abandoned me, and you know, so I had this idea that there was this other life waiting for me, and that everything was sort of working together for my good. Because why else would I be so sick? You know, why else would I have to go through all this if it wasn't meant to be? So every step of the way, every hard thing that's come my way, man, it has been like a springboard. Like I broke my neck, true story. I broke my neck. I was working at the boys club when it was the boys club. I was a counselor there. And I was doing pull downs at the gym, and the wire snapped, and I broke my neck. And it was because I broke my neck that I actually wrote my first play, which is it's Hook, Line, and Sinker. It's up there on the wall. And I would have never become a writer and gone into television and had like a 20+ year career in TV if I hadn't broke my neck, if I hadn't been sick, if I hadn't gone into acting. So my whole life has always been lived with this great feeling that there is more. I have a purpose. And so working at the WWE was interesting because I always felt like they don't really know who I am. You know, I felt like an outsider, but yet I had such great creative control. You know, to be able to write and steer an audience into a direction, to be able to write things like look up The Right to Censor, just watch any of their promos where, you know, I would say that Vince is, you know, slowly but surely demoralizing the youth. And I'd be saying things like that this is a plan to corrupt you, to keep you ignorant. I'd be writing these things, and I'd be bringing them to Vince to approve the copy. And he'd say, this is great. Expletive, you know. But I got to tell you, I enjoyed my time there. I made some very good friends.
Did you meet The Rock as well? And
I wrote for The Rock, man. I wrote for him.
So you guys would actually...
Yes, okay. Yes, okay. Of course.
What are these people? Let me jump in real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. Your energy's off the hook. I love it, but I know that I can hear what some of the questions are going through. I can just hear the minds of some of the listeners. So I'm exaggerating, but what are these guys like in person? For example, The Rock. You know, he's probably running for president in 10 years.
Listen, and just an amazing guy, because he was, when I came in, you got to remember, I had just done, like I went to school on scholarship for acting. I started a theater group. I started a theater company, had some off-Broadway plays. I was doing like an independent film at the time when I met Shane, but I was a nobody, you know, like in the grand scheme of things. Like this was like everything working together to put me in a place that would set them, which is interesting because Jacob wrestled. You know, it's sorry, but I'll get into that later too. Jacob wrestled. He was known for wrestling. Do you know that I actually took over another wrestling show just about a couple of years ago called Traditional Championship Wrestling? Because I had said to my wife, I said, I miss wrestling. I'd like to be given full reign and be able to do whatever I want. And then I got this call from this amazing guy, Matt Riviera. And he said, hey, would you like to take over my show? And then we became like the third largest at the time. And I got to, put myself on TV, which was always, but the last time I was in the ring, true story, he was wrestling a wrestler named Angel, and I got involved in a match and I choked him out, which is really kind of weird because I think he ended up with a hamstring tear too. So he ended up walking away from the match with a limp. It's kind of weird how, like, symbolically, Jacob wrestles the Angel, he walks away with the limp. Like, here we are on the other side. And I didn't recognize any of this till I got on a plane. But no, Rock was a great guy. Salt of the earth, really nice, very encouraging. He wasn't my main guy. My main guys were I had a lot of guys. Taker, Glenn, which is Kane. It was basically just me and this guy Brian Gewirtz. He was a very talented young man, but we didn't gel too much. It wasn't a pleasant environment for me because I'm not in that world, And a lot of these amazing talents were very, I would say, lost, but a lot of them were just beautiful people. I have so many friendships that I'm in Mick Foley's book. Foley is good. He actually put me in the forward of his book because we would talk about writing, And, you know, he wanted to write novels, and he wanted to write kid stuff, and he wanted to write comedy. And, you know, I wrote for him for a long time, and I got to do a lot of great comedy stuff. I put myself on the show. Hey, if you guys want to, if you don't believe me, you can just YouTube Trish Stratus. I started her. I was her writer, and I used to give her acting coach in the back. She was another amazing person. Trish Stratus Dating Game. I actually put myself, because they actually gave me this show called Sunday Night Heat, which was in the city. And what I did was I wanted to turn it into a more of like a talk show. You know, like I actually convinced Vince to turn the show into like a variety show. So we did this show called The Dating Game. And I'm actually on it, which is pretty funny. I play this really goofy guy from New York named Tommy, who was a friend of mine. I was kind of, you know, razzing him a little bit. But I felt like I was there for a reason. I knew that wasn't my career. I knew that I was going to leave. I knew that I was going to end up in some kind of faith-based television, because, like I said, I'd read the Bible on his plane, and I'd be listening to music. And Vince's big joke was,
he said that it bothered him, right?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you know, everybody's having fun, and I'm in the back and I'm reading the Bible. You know, it's like it's a little awkward. I get it, but I never really felt. I felt like I liked Vince. I worked out with him. I didn't have any problems with anybody. They treated me very nice. I heard stories of how, you know, unfair they could be. I mean, Vince yelled at me once, and it wasn't really. He doesn't know to this day, but it wasn't even my fault what happened. But you took the blame. You just did it. But, you know, Vince was a great guy. I liked working with him. Now, I know a lot of people are going to go blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about, he didn't know who I was, and I knew who I was when I was there, which is why I was writing. So before anybody says that I'm like supporting Vince, no, not at all. I know that this system is broken, and I think that it was a beautiful thing that I got to be put there to write these monologues where I'm telling everybody the truth. So Right to Censor was literally created because I did not feel right with what was going on. And I came in and I said, I'm going to change this. And who am I to do that? But I did. And Right to Censor took over. I took the porn star Val Venus and I made him, you know, a man who was in a relationship and was chaste. I took the Godfather, who was a pimp, turned him into the good father. And little by little, you know, and see, the thing was, what I was doing on the down low, they didn't even understand this, is that I like these C players, B players, whatever you want to call them. You know, they would call them jobbers. And I hated that because they were all amazing, and all they needed was a little bit of a push. So I gave them the right copy, the right material, and everything else. Stevie Richards, to this day, a lot of people don't know this, he topped The Rock in ratings, you know, minute by minute. I mean, but yet he's a nobody, right? Because he didn't get the big push. Rock deserved it. I'm not saying he doesn't, because, man, he was a great guy. And I got to tell you, I was in awe of him. I was very young. I mean, we're talking 99 to 2001, very young. I was just starting to have my kind of like my spiritual awakening, you know, where I was seeking all the time. Like, what does life mean? And like I said, Vince would make jokes. He's like, what are you listening to, Kenny Loggins? I don't know why Kenny Loggins is associated with the Bible, but that was the big joke. You know, I got to meet a lot of celebrities. I had opportunities to do things with celebrities, which I chose not to do. It was an interesting time, but I wasn't overall happy. It wasn't like I was living the dream. I was quite unhappy, which is why I ended up leaving. And I left on good terms and everything else. But I knew that my time was short there. Now, what's interesting about this, right? Because this was not me. I just knew I was, meant to go to WWE. I ended up taking over it was, at the time, it was the fastest growing Christian television network in the world. It's called Daystar. The only reason I got this job was that Marcus Lamb, the owner of the network, huge WWE fan, huge. So when I told people when I was leaving, because I had done a couple of other shows after that, when I told people I was leaving and I was going to take over Christian TV, because I had a belief that, I don't know why, I just had call it faith, whatever. I just felt like that was the trajectory in my life. Like I needed to now learn how to reach people on a different level. Now, when I got there, it wasn't what I expected. Thank God I didn't have to, look, mega religion is not the answer, but once again, here I was writing for these people, and I don't think they really understood what I was sharing. So I was sharing a great message. I was sharing a message of tolerance and understanding, and a message that, there's a great proverb that says God's arm is not slack that it cannot save. And a lot of people are like, well, what are we being saved from, right? Well, scripture says the truth shall set you free. So it's really all about being set free from the lies that we believe. And when you have these mega religions and they're all pushing the same agenda, and it's all bondage and servitude. And so whenever I was there, I'd always find a way to, just fill it with light, and yeah, it's weird, man. My life has been, I look back on it and I think it's insane. So then I said that after I left Christian TV, because I couldn't stomach it. Luckily I was like the head writer, so I didn't have to ever ask people for money. I didn't have to ever condemn other people for whatever they believe or what, I literally was there to encourage and inspire people to do exactly what I do on my show every week, which is just say, teach me the truth. I can't tell you what the truth is. We were talking about that yesterday. That's why I love you, man, is that you're not coming on here and saying, I have the answers. How can anybody have the answer? I have ideas. I've studied enough. Most people that say that they have the ideas, they have no idea, and they don't even know these books, these holy books that they say I am misquoting, or they don't even, because they haven't even read it, because what they've been told was this is what you must believe. And that belief system is 100% rooted in this beast system, right? The beast system is the carnal idea of who we are. And so I think it's kind of crazy that I've been left there, because I said I was going to write my book, and I was going to, I said one day I was just going to give it away for free. And I saw this day happening. I've been writing about it for years in my on my blog. Now, do I know ahead of time? Do I say that? No, I don't know ahead of time. I have ideas of where I'm going. There's a great passage that says God gives you the desire of your heart. And religion will twist that and teach you that it means that if you want a new car, God's going to give it to you. If you want, but no, what it means is like you have the same desire as I have, Rex, right? And he gave it to us for a reason, so that we could enter into it. Now, a lot of people have this. I just met somebody the other day. It was really kind of a cool moment. It was at my gym. This guy came up to me. His name's Corey. And I guess he recognized me, and we got to talking. And he had said that, he had started to kind of try to find his passion. And he just found this incredible passion for photography that I didn't even know he had. He always wanted to do it, but he never took the time to do it. But like videos like these, they inspire you to just reach out and try to create, because we're born to create. So I think it's kind of cool. I've had all these ins and the outs in my life, and I've never been rich. I've never been, in desperate need. I've lost everything. I've gone from having a lot to losing a lot. I ended up, my first wife actually took off on me, and I raised, a lot of people don't know this about me. My son Noah was about 3 at the time. My daughter was just born, Shiloh, and she was 1. And I was working at this network, and my ex-wife, she wanted to move back to New York, and we didn't have the greatest relationship, but it was all right. I always knew really that it wasn't. I don't know why, you just had that feeling, It's not like she was a bad person or anything else. I did, the best I could. I was a really good husband, but just it wasn't what I have with Danielle. Like Danielle is, it was all meant to be. Once again, Jacob had 2 wives. He wanted Danielle, but he ended up with Kim the first time around. Now she's great now. She just got married. I'm happy for her. And I raised my kids all alone. I was a single dad, full time, and I was in, like, I had given her the house, and I had given her the car and everything, and I didn't have much of anything. It was just me and the kids. But I believe that within a short period of time, I'd have a house and everything else. And then I moved to Long Island, which is where she was from. And then I met Danielle. And then here we are now, 10 years married, happier than ever before. And, going exactly where I've kind of seen my life to go. And here we are. Another highlight of my life is with you.
Jacob, definitely your energy level and your passion about what you believe in is second to none. And that's what I really appreciate about your channel. I was watching I was watching your podcast that you did, I think just a few hours ago, or you just uploaded it a few hours ago, where you were talking about how people like Eminem have so much, they have so much influence, right? And they should use it for, you know, if they really want to help the people, it depends on who they are as a person, but wouldn't it be great if people like Eminem are out there using their skills and their airtime to help people and to kind of take us to the next level? And I think, you know, what you were sharing with me also yesterday about some of the dreams that you had and the visions.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Weird.
Let's talk about that. That's incredible.
Oh, I'm going to sound crazy.
Hey, I mean, you're not going to sound as crazy as me. You're talking to Rex from Leak Project. I'm still waiting on milk. Grandma, where's my milk and cookies?
Get the Grandma. Where's that wig and the glasses?
You know, I'm still getting people like, it's Friday the 13th here, Rex. We're still here. You need to shut your channel down. I was like, well,
what?
Okay. It was a satire piece. Podcast. Hours till the end of the world. I'm wearing a wig that costs $5. It looks like fake horsehair, and people are like, this guy's serious. This guy says the end of the world's going to happen. You need to take your channel down. You need to get some personality, dude, because the world's going to end because of people like you, because God won't want people like you around. You can't even laugh at anything. Come on. You're zombified sheep. Okay,
right. It's and this is the thing too, is I got a lot of heat for this Eminem video. Now, the only reason why I did it was because my wife and my kids, we all had it. Well, my kids, not my children. I don't even like saying kids because I always think of baby goats. My children, Anthony and Noah. Now, Anthony's like, he's my son. We have, like I said, we both have custody of our children. So I've raised him. You know, he's my boy. We don't see the children as stepchildren and everything else because they're with us all the time, and it's awesome. I have a beautiful life. And I was like, I had a stepfather. So it's really amazing how I got to then experience being a stepfather as well. And then kind of have a perspective as to how hard it must have been for, you know, my stepfather, who, you know, everybody does the best they can. We're not going to get into any of that crazy stuff with the childhood thing, but, you know, it's amazing how we always are given these opportunities to make things in our lives right. You know, I'd still like to meet my biological father. I just got a call just the other day because it turns out I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 other brothers that I never met. My brother that I grew up with, Jeff, he's a detective right now. He's an amazing, which is why, you know, I hate when I hear people just going off on police. And I understand that there are a lot of horrible officers, you know, that should be, you know, just thrown in jail and then they'll reap what they've sown. But my brother's a beautiful human being, and he's an amazing, and he teaches them jujitsu, and he's kind, and he's temperate, and he's passionate, and he's patient, you know, and he's not like the other ones, and he doesn't drink, and he doesn't do drugs. So, and my son, my oldest son, he wants to be a police officer too. So, you know, when I see everybody lumping everything in, it's all division. And you've noticed it for the last couple of years. It's been, you know, let's just basically get everybody to hate everybody because a divided house can't stand. And yeah, it's going to come at all angles right now. It's going to be like everybody's going to try to shut us down. And I don't mean like in a fearful way, because look, we're given these guidelines right now. My Eminem video, which did it have any profanity to it? No. Was it not so encouraging and uplifting? Yes. There was nothing about that video that should be flagged as inappropriate, but the instant that I put it up, it was flagged as because I think that his message is what they want people to hear. They don't want to hear people like me and you saying people with a platform. Yeah, now is the day when you need to wake up, when that child can be born within you, when you can find that you're more than what your handlers have told you. You can break your programming, man. And now's the day when you can, because if he can't see, and I'm telling you, man, this guy's sitting home and he's in bed at night. I mean, because he's a human, because I've heard his music. And it's like, when I said that I was a fan of his, it's not like I don't wear Slim Shady shirts, and I don't agree with the horrible things that he said, you know, about homosexuals, about women, about even his family, you know, but he was young and he was expressing himself. But there were some albums that I am a fan of, like Toy Soldiers, which, you know, he realized that all of this hate that he put out there, you know, all of this anger and rage and what he was really doing, all of this stuff that they were really telling him, this is how you got to succeed. And, you know, and he had a chance to transcend it. And he sort of did when he made his comeback. But then, you know, what ends up happening? His best friend, man, and how horrible that must have been. And it wasn't his fault. This is what he probably needs to hear, is that it isn't his fault. But when people think that what they do in their past, that's why the devil backwards is lived. You're tormented by the life that you lived. And I guarantee that if you can't get over that shame and that, that hurt, you're not going to be able to break the cycle, because it's all, that's why Satan is called the accuser, the adversary. We're meant to, love and move into this. And then, but you have this lie, this, it's like the Matrix. It really is. And there's this energy that is just trying to keep everybody subdued. And right now, the reason why everything is clamping down, the reason why my video gets pumped up and all of a sudden why the adpocalypse is happening, is because the time is short. Like, I really feel like I'm now 46. I said that my channel and everything, I said people would start to know who I am around 45. I wrote a couple of essays about it a couple of years ago. Not because, once again, that I see the future, but because I had this desire and it was placed there for a reason. I just believed that it was possible. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And that's where we're going to get to my dream, because that's really how it all happened, because it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm not the reason for my success. And that's the problem. We were talking about how you and I both have this sense of being, this, the world kind of starts and ends with us. All of us share that in common, which means that we're all cut from the same life, whatever you want to call that, life force, God, that spirit. The scriptures say that everything exists in God. God is all there is. Okay, so I'm just using that word God. So anybody that can say that, you could somehow be outside of the only thing that actually exists is kind of foolish. So that means that you and I need to counteract all that stuff, because right now, and I think that's what I think symbolically, that's what all this stuff about September 23rd was all about. Right now, that devil, if you want to call it the devil, the father of all lies. If you're the father of all lies, what do you give birth to? Lies. So it's time for us to be set free from it. Now it's kind of cast into the earth. It's no longer in our heaven. So now we can take it and we can actually walk into the life that we were born to walk into. So people like Eminem, he can actually take a long, hard look in the mirror and say, wow, you know what? I can make things better in this world. And so can this person, and so can that person. All this anger, all this hate, all this rage, it's nonsense. And I don't even think they realize that they're being manipulated to do that, because you'll never know God if you hate. That's what the scripture.
Let me jump in real quick, Jacob, because you brought up a good point. Some of these people don't even know they're being manipulated. Well, I didn't see this skit that The Rock did on Saturday Night Live, but I heard about it, and I heard that he basically made a joke of pedophilia. And I also was told that a lot of these people that do the writing oftentimes don't even know what, they're not even doing the writing. The writers aren't even doing the writing. They're getting information that from somebody else.
Lauren.
And they're going to put the name on it as that guy's the writer. So let's talk about this for a minute, if we can. If we can jump back to some of these people, like McMahon, Vince McMahon, that's his name, right?
Yeah.
What is he like? Is he as intense? Yes. When you talk to him off the air as he is on the air? What are these people like? And let's get more into them, how they could be patsies and don't even realize it.
He's a very intimidating man, but he's a smart guy. Listen, there's a thing called kayfabe in wrestling. It means it's a secret. They actually have their own language. And I'm a smart guy, so I picked up on it. They didn't know that I picked up on it, but they would actually be talking in code in the car when I was there. I'm a guy who was reading the Bible, man. I was a guy who was handing him stuff saying that Vince McMahon is a pawn to make everybody a slave to ignorance. And he's looking at this copy. I mean, he's not a dumb guy, but he also knew that people would hate it, and they did, which is why the Right to Censor was like the most hated group ever. But if you listen to what they're saying, that's the irony, I don't know. In any event, he didn't exactly share a lot, but there was some weird stuff, there was some, not like stuff that I saw him doing or anything else, but I mean, look, the stuff that they were doing before I came on, Undertaker was like a Satanist, and he had, I mean, look, there was even the upside down Nike swoosh, and, the whole, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of darkness in there, man. Vince is not a person of faith. He's not someone who believes in God at all. He's, I've signed paperwork. So, when you leave a company, you gotta, so I'm not gonna, I don't know anything horrible about the man, but I can surmise if you're doing stuff like that, you're not coming from a very, a place of great peace. I know that a lot of wrestlers were treated very, very unfairly, and, other wrestlers were treated very, so I don't find it strange at all that, Dwayne has done such, he has children, like at the time when I knew him, he was young. He just become like, he just become The Rock. And, we never had like heart-to-heart discussions. I had heart-to-heart, like Eddie Guerrero was a very good friend of mine. I had heart-to-heart discussions with a lot of them, even like Rikishi and, I was close to a lot of people over there. I was actually Kurt Angle's writer in the very beginning when he first came in with the intensity and all that jazz. But yeah, it was an ugly place because I actually was sick the entire time that I worked there too. I had to take medication, and there was nothing better than the day that I had given my notice and then I got to go do my own thing. But it was incredibly important for me to be there and to see all of that, and to also realize the power of the pen. I'm just a little guy, man. I'm like, I'm nobody. They consider themselves titans. That's what, I don't know if you know what the name of his organization is. It's Titan Wrestling is what it began as. He considers himself like, that. Not that he said things, or maybe he has, but I'm not at liberty to say. Listen, I don't want to badmouth anybody. Like I said before, it was an amazing opportunity that he did not give me, that I was given by God, or whatever you want to call it. Because, and same thing when I took over the Christian network. Same thing when my YouTube channel went viral for no apparent reason. I have a website. I've shared about 300 something essays where I take stories in scripture and I break them down. And, much like if you were looking at the boy who cries wolf, the moral of the story is really what's important, the spirit of the story. You shouldn't exaggerate, you shouldn't lie. But religion will take that story, say if that's the story that's found in the Bible, and they will kill another person who doesn't believe that there was a literal boy or a literal wolf, meaning that the letter of that story was more important, which scripture says, ironically, the letter kills, only the spirit gives life. So even in our life, as we're living out our story, we think that this is all real and that this is literally happening, but this is also a lesson for us. Things that we struggle with, things that we hate in other people, they are what we need. They're a mirror, and we can never overcome it until we realize that everything starts and ends with me. So, Vince McMahon and all of this, it's still a part of all of us. So all we have to do is, light the way and hopefully, set them free. Otherwise, this is all a simulation and they don't even exist. They're just the bad guys. And when the story's over, we learn the lesson and they fizzle out.
Yeah. Or we're in a dualistic universe and right? You have to choose your side wisely, because it seems as if there's an opposite to everything. Every right. action has an opposite and equal reaction. So I like how you chose the light side. And it's interesting. A lot of these large institutions and giant corporations, especially some of the media, it just seems as if people draw to the fear. They draw overall as far as ratings go. You look at a lot of these industries and the media, and they continue to push fear, yet people continue to push that button and log on and watch and get absorbed by the brain drain media and turn into mummified caterpillars. So it's fascinating when when YouTube comes out with a possible scenario where they think that something might happen, or like come out with a joke and people are just so uptight. Why don't you guys that are so uptight that have no personality and attack those that make satire pieces at the end of the world? Why don't you go to the mainstream media? Because they're constantly pushing the
right, because that's what they want.
trillions of dollars trying to brainwash you and make you think that the swine flu vaccine is good for you with experimental adjuvants in it. Okay. So instead of attacking those that are joking at the end of the world, or there is a possible situation where you might want to be prepared for, I don't think the end of the world is going to happen anytime soon. I think that there's always signs in the heavens, and I think that those signs are cyclical, which means there might be certain resets. I mean, I don't think that the earth has been a smooth growth.
Reset indeed. Reset.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, man. I think that's exactly what's going down right now. There's a reset in motion. You know, some people are saying that that's what the Mandela effect is about. I mean, look, you can say whatever you want. You can call me crazy, whatever. I'm a very sane guy. You know, I graduated cum laude. I'm a professional. I'm a great father, a great husband. I'm not a stupid man. I saw things change and change back. It defies, you know, it defies any kind of logic. But I saw the Apollo 13 line go from Houston, we have a problem, to Houston, we've had a problem, back to Houston, we have a problem again. And there's how many articles that are written about top 10 movie misquotes? Go to BuzzFeed, where they'll say that the misquote is Houston, we have a problem. The problem is it switched back about a year ago. So I talk about stuff like this. And of course, people, then they want to just shut you down. And by the way, you want to talk about weird? I wanted to interview somebody from CERN. This is a true story, because I talk about CERN a lot. I'm fascinated with it. And out of the blue, a physicist from CERN bumps into me. We end up hitting it off. I tell him all about the Mandela effect. And I show him my videos where, you know, you have hundreds of thousands of views where people are interested in quantum physics and quantum theory and smashing of atoms and black holes and antimatter. And he's coming on the show. What? How does that happen? Right? You know, and he doesn't even know what my channel's about. He doesn't even know what he's walking into. I'm going to be safe and careful with him. You know, I don't want anybody to get, because he's just a young, smart guy who's now working over here in Brookhaven on the collider over here. But yeah, so something's happened, whether it's that or the whole thing. Okay, so I'll tell you about my dream with Nibiru, okay? Because I know that, listen, when I started doing videos, Rex, on Nibiru.
That's where the trolls really come out.
Oh my God, right? But it wasn't 6 months later when they said it probably exists. It wasn't a year later that they said it definitely exists. Now NASA says it exists. So,
if you're comparing it to Planet 9, are you comparing it to Planet 9?
That's Planet 9, Planet X, Planet 10, whatever you want to call it. There's something that's in a very elliptical orbit. Now why I'm saying this is not based on, I'm not an astronomer. But there's something to it. And the fact that now it's like a legit deal makes me think, oh yeah, there's even more to it right now than once we once imagined. The news right now is that Planet 9 was birthed within our solar system. That it wasn't like outside and like it was actually part of our solar system, and it's just on this long orbit. But anyway, so what happened, this is so weird. So a couple of years ago, you know, I'm starting to finish my novel, and people are asking me to come, and I was actually invited to speak at a couple of really just well-known places, and I was really excited. And I was getting invited on shows here and there, and then all of a sudden I wake up and I get this vibe that, oh no, you know, I had a really bad dream, and I just feel like the world is going to hell in a handbasket soon. So I kind of go on there and I tell everybody what I'm feeling, and it sounded nuts. I go back and I look at these videos and I think, my God, no wonder everybody gave me a hard time. But it ended up happening. So that's kind of what's weird about it. Was right now where we are 2 years later is exactly what, you know, and I know that there are a lot of people on YouTube that have been saying the same thing, but this was all new to me, man. I wasn't a YouTube guy. I wasn't a conspiracy guy. I talked about, you know, symbolism, and I talked about faith, and all my earlier videos are about that, and all my essays are about that. And I'm a TV writer and producer and a novelist. So I wasn't into this. But this just was thrust on me, you know? So after doing that and getting such like outrage from people that I considered peers, and, you know, saying I can't have you back on the show and all this stuff, which was hurtful. You know, I actually had to take a break from Facebook because it bummed me out. But I didn't realize that it was all part of a plan, right? So things start kind of going in the right direction again. Everything's kind of going back on track. Now, at this time, YouTube was not my primary concern. I had a radio show, and I was focusing more on TV production, and I was really all about my novel, because that's actually the future for that's what I'm all. That's the pinnacle. That's where it all takes off for me, and I've always believed that. That's what the book's about, by the way. It's about a 12-year-old who had a vision of writing a book that would somehow change the world. It would be this great allegory that somehow, like, magically, wonderfully inspires them within to look for more. And they realize that the book's actually really more about them and their journey. And I hid a lot of cool stuff in it too, Rex. I'll send you a book, man. If you're a reader, it's really cool.
That'd be great.
So this is what happens. So a couple of years go by, everything's fine, you know. And then I go to work one day, and my colleague comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, man, I was talking to this dude, and he reads your blog, and he said you got to read this book." And he handed me this piece of paper, and I said, "Oh, okay, great." And I put it in my pocket. I'm not a big reader. I like to write. I don't like to read. I like to research, like you. And I didn't really pay it much mind. That same night, I got an email from an amazing producer, Edgar Asesino. He's called The Exhibition. I actually used his music in my Eminem video. He's a great guy. If everybody digs music and beats, check him out. But he's also a really awakened guy. And he sent me an email. He said, "Jacob, what do you think of the Anunnaki?" And I said, "I don't really know much about them. I think they're Sumerian gods. I mean, I've heard about them, but I don't really know much about it." And I kind of just blew that off. And then I had gotten another email from another person about this big planet. And I just remember it being this picture of this big red planet. And I said, "Oh, that's cool." Didn't put anything together. The next day, because I do a lot of praying. Some people call it meditating. I call it praying, where I'm kind of just sitting down and I'm saying, "Okay, what do I do next?" And I kind of just, give me the next video, whatever. Give me the next essay. Give me the next poem, because I write poetry too. And I stop all that, and I reach in my pocket and I pull out this piece of paper, and it's this book. I believe it's called The Earth Chronicle. So I go and I look it up, and it's Sitchin's book, and it's about the Anunnaki, and it's about planet Nibiru. And I go, "Whoa, that's a weird little, three things coming together." And there's a passage in scripture that says, "Then in the mouth of two or three witnesses, my word is established." So in other words, when you have three events that coincide almost at the exact same time, and I like when people say, "Oh, it's not a coincidence," when it actually, that word coincidence, we've been brainwashed to think that that's something like, it's not meant to be. But coincidence means when two things come together, when they coincide. So all these things came together at once, and I go, "Oh, I'm supposed to talk about this." And I went, "No, I'm not going to talk about aliens." I said, "Not my cup of tea. Look at what happened." So I have this dialogue, this inner dialogue. Look at what happened a couple of years ago when I start talking about hurricanes and terrorists coming to the United States. ISIS is going to be, and we're going to be scared about everything. All that stuff. When I said Trump entered the race, and I said, "Oh, it's going to end up being Trump and Hillary, because these two represent the two opposite horrible ends of the same disgusting coin, because they're all puppets." And there it is, because that's the best way to divide everybody, which is why family members now hate each other. They don't even realize. They think they're sticking up for one side or the other. They're all being played. And all of our rights are being further taken away so that Trump can be the scapegoat in the end. Anyway, where was I? No, so all these things come together, and I say, I'm not going to do it. You have to give me a little more info than that, right? Which is terrible. It's like Jonah saying, "I'm not going to Nineveh. I'm not going to tell them about aliens, man. They'll kill me. I got a book coming out." That's literally the way I was thinking. It was totally selfish, because I thought there was something to it, but I didn't, so I start little by little, I'm researching it, right? So like the next day I'm thinking about it, and I tell my wife, I go, "Danielle," I said, "If you have a dream tonight about aliens, you got to tell me. I'm going to do a video on it." She goes, "What are you talking about?" And I explained to her. She goes, "Yeah, that's out of control." I said, "Yeah, it is out of control. But you have a dream, tell me anyways." That night I have a dream. This is all true. This is all my children's lives. This all happened. And I have this dream of this guy, David Daly, who is just a Facebook guy. He's an older guy. He used to kind of critique my essays, and then he's kind of a theologian. And I don't know why he was in the dream, so I reached out to him on Facebook, and we don't have each other's number. We weren't close. It was just somebody that had commented on my page. I guess had been a reader of mine. And so I said, "Hey, I had a dream about you." I said, "You must be in it for a reason. Do me a favor. Can you give me a number? Can I call you?" And he goes, "What's the dream about?" I goes, "About aliens." He goes, "Yeah, call me quick." So I called this guy up, And he tells me all about, guess what? Nibiru, Planet Nine, the Anunnaki. It's his life's work. He had an experience when he was younger. He was like weird stuff, right? So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to need a little more. I'm really bad. Now I do. Look, now I'll talk about anything. Listen, I've learned my lesson. I don't care. I'm like, whatever. Oh, you want me to talk about, the fish that will hypnotize you and steal your chewing gum? I'm talking about it,
I read a Sumerian tablet about that, actually. Bingo! Ancient Mesopotamia. It's called the City of Fish.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious. Gum? Absolutely, I'm serious.
They steal chewing gum from your pockets, though?
Well, not the chewing gum part, but the fish and the hypnotism stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we can go into dolphins about that and how they communicate. It's a whole other show. I think it's a beautiful thing. So
you're talking about the Dr. Patrick Flanagan experiments that they did with the Pentagon in the 70s where they were actually communicating.
Oh, God, I love you, Rex.
Right?
You're a cool
Bingo.
dude, man. It's like, this is so cool how we all come together, and yet we're all so alone in our normal lives. This is why people who watch, they really need to share your stuff, man. They really need to subscribe. They really need to check the bell, because really we are a family, and we have to encourage each other, because I believe all this stuff to be leading somewhere great. And I know that today's the day when they're going to try to shut people like you down and to try to silence people like me, but it's going to find a way, because there's a balance to everything. And right now, darkness is kind of like this. So the balance it's about to switch. That's what they would say the 1,000-year reign of Christ is. So there's going to be a switch soon. So anyway, I'm showering the next day. This is a long story, dude. I'm sorry. I talk too much. So I'm taking a shower.
Hold on, time out before you continue.
Sure.
You're doing great. I'm reading through the comments here, and people keep saying, "Tell Jacob I love him."
I love you.
I live down the street from him, and I keep looking on the highway. Tell Jacob he's awesome. Tell Jacob he's the best. My favorite.
Man, thank you. Thank you,
buddy.
Yeah, I try to. I'm like you. I try to get back to people. It's hard, but I really do, and I make it. It's an important thing for me to communicate with people, because I'm so grateful that they're watching, and I'm so grateful they're commenting, because this is like my whole life. I've known I was going here, and they're part of the journey with me, and we wouldn't be where we are if we didn't have each other. So I'm not somebody that ignores any of that, so like, I tell people, if I missed your commentary, please try again next time. I'm usually good. Hit me up like right after I post the video, because I stay on for like about an hour. I try to, at least, or I wake up at 3 a.m, open it up, I'm like, oh, let me just respond to a couple, and then go back to sleep. So after all this stuff happened with David, I am taking a shower. This is all true. And I think, okay, so there's this guy, Bob Selesky. He wrote a book called Athlon. About a year earlier, he's a reader of mine. He watches my videos. He likes a lot of the stuff that I write, and he's been a reader of mine for a while. And he's a great sci-fi writer. And so he wanted to write a book and make me one of the lead characters. He was going to name the character Noah Israel, and he was going to call Noah Israel the voice in the dead woods, it's interesting. My blog was called The Voice in the Dead Woods for a while. The cover of my first book was very dark compared to right now. It's filled with life. It's an interesting thing. It's kind of like, first there's darkness, then there's life. And so he asked me if, he could use, just basically my essence and put me in the middle of the story. I said, yeah, sure. You kidding me? So about a week earlier, I actually think I have, hang on a second. I think I have this. I do. I got this book right here. So Athlon, right? Okay, that's me. He's jacked, right? That's because I work out. I used to be a lot heavier, Rex. I was like 65 pounds heavier, man. When I got diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, about 40 years old, I was miserable. I was in so much pain. I didn't know what was wrong. And it was interesting, because I decided one day, I said, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. And then I got a call from my mother, because I have Crohn's disease too. I've been in and out of the hospital for a long time. I've dealt with autoimmune issues a long time. And
didn't you say you used to work or you live next to a toxic dump or something like that?
Oh, yeah, man. They used to dump toxic. It was like, you remember, it was a different time back then, man. We're in the 70s. You know, it was a different time. There weren't as many. I literally, and also the town dump was like right next to the house. It was like you could walk to the town dump. This is where we played. We used to get magazines. It was gross. I don't know. It was a different day. My children, on the other hand, you know, not so much. It was a different day, you know. And so Athlon, back to what this is about. So I was taking a shower and I thought to myself, oh my God, you know, he put me in this book. I think it had something to do with aliens. I said, if this book is about like the Anunnaki and Planet Nine, I'm going to do the video. And guess what it's about? And here he like wrote it to me, to Jacob. And like, he actually even describes me. He puts me here. Yeah, approved. This book represents the exact essence of what I'm talking about. You wanted to know why I've spent so much time and effort in apprehending Israel? It's because of this. Dor tossed the book that he wrote down on the table. The Voice in the Dead Woods. You know, he actually wrote about me writing a book that changes the world. It's weird. Very cool, though. And it's about the Anunnaki. It's about aliens. And it's about Nibiru. And so here's this guy that, like, years earlier puts me in a story about the exact same thing that I'm now struggling with, and I come to that realization at the same time. So I call Bob up and I go, Bob, is this about the... He goes, yeah, and he tells me all about the Sumerian Night. Do I do the video then? No, I don't do the video then either, because it still sounds crazy. And a lot of people are going to be upset with me. It isn't until I go on vacation with my family to Florida and I have a terrible nightmare, man. It was like the worst nightmare I've ever had. And I'm standing outside of this hospital and I see this big planet. Now, just so you know, I don't believe Nibiru, Planet 9, Planet X, Hergopolis, whatever the name is, I don't believe it's going to crash into us. I believe that it's entering in and it's wobbling and messing up, and it could cause a lot of issues with asteroids and weather. And actually, if we tilt it a little bit towards the sun, we're a little hotter, so we may have climate issues and everything else. And I think that's what the issue is. You know, all the other stuff I think is planted to discredit this, because obviously they know about it, right? I mean, they'd have to. Why would they be pointing telescopes up there? Why would they be shutting down areas? Why, right? But now they're making it known because the effects are really starting to happen. I wouldn't doubt if in a couple of years we hear about it and it becomes visible, you know? But that being said, I didn't do the video. I'm in Florida. I have this terrible dream and I see this big planet and I say, oh God, I'm so sorry. I didn't believe. I'll do the video now. And in the dream, I'm grabbing my little phone, you know, and I'm trying to upload a video. And every time I'm uploading the video, another meteor hits, right? And to the end of the dream, I'm like kind of huddled like this. And I'm going, I'm sorry. And I wake up. And literally, these are my words. Now, Danielle all along has known this has been troubling me. And I keep saying, I'm going to do this video. She goes, well, honey, you should just do it. I mean, who cares what people think, right? So I wake up. I'm like, all right already. So I had planned to do it at this. We were at Guano Bananas in Florida, and Gano Banos. I don't know how to pronounce it, but they had this really cool little paddle boat, and I was planning on doing the video on the water away from people so no one would hear me. And what ended up happening was my son got sick, and we had to take him to a hospital. Now, what I left out was in the dream I was at this random hospital, and Ethan was sick. So that was the very same day, and I'll be damned if it wasn't the same hospital in my dream, and there were storm clouds gathering, and I had a moment where I was like, uh-oh, you know, because, you know, we're in our head, we think I'm a creative guy, man, you know. So I did the video, I uploaded it, no disaster, but here's where it gets really weird. The video goes viral. A year later, 90,000 subscribers. What? So maybe there's something to it, you know. Now, I thought that people were going to leave me and hate me and mock me. But the more I've looked into it, the more I think it makes sense. I found, you know, and this is how I found you, because you talk about it too. All this great research you've done, man, it's so valuable and so needed today. People need to seek and find, you know. But there you go. That's my story.
That's awesome. I think that's great. And you also kind of told me about how you went with a Christian network, that you helped them get to a really solid point as well. And then you noticed that there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that didn't just jive with you, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I worked with, here, by the way, 2015. So you see, this wasn't like written after all that stuff. I mean, if you look at my, very weird. Oh yeah, I was, I just believe that
Universe is talking to you, man.
I had
stuff in front of you.
I had there's another true story. This guy, Errol Lloyd Graham, had called me up. I was doing a show called Thunderbox with, you ever hear of Erica Campbell? She's like a gospel singer. She has a morning show called Get Up with Erica or Get Up Erica. Griff, her co-host, is a very good friend of mine. I mean, great friend of mine. He's an amazing comedian. He's an amazing celebrity. He was like the voice of Atlanta for a long time. And we did a show called Thunderbox together, and we've been friends ever since. And we've watched each other lose everything, get it back, lose everything. And the whole time we've always spoken faith into our lives. And right now he's kind of hitting his stride, and it's a beautiful thing. Well, Thunderbox, when I was doing Thunderbox, I told everybody, I said, I said, I'm going to have to leave this. I'm going to have to go do Christian TV. And everybody thought I was kind of nutty, but I really believed I was supposed to go there. People said that I was going to, this one guy, Errol, had met Lindsay. She was a character in the show in California, and called me out of the blue once. And it was right after I was praying, like, what am I meant to do? Because I had just left Thunderbox and I didn't know where I was going to go next. And I got this call from this guy, Errol, who met Lindsay and said, I met your friend Lindsay, blah, blah, blah. And then I was talking, and then he, of course, says that he's a prophet, which I think is baloney. But long story short, he told me he saw me. He said, you're the bomb, Jacob. I said, the bomb? I goes, you understand that expression, you're the bomb? I said, well, not really, but okay, I'm cool. And he said, no, it's like you're God's bomb. You're going to be placed in certain areas to do certain things. And I thought he was a little loopy, but you got to understand, I've believed this about myself since I was 12 anyway. So this is like confirmation. Now, if I had told people this, they would have thought I was nutty. But I tell people I just have an idea of where my life is going. This is what I want to do. I believe it's going to happen. So why wouldn't I be God's bomb, right? He said that he saw me writing for a Christian network, taking over a network. He said he saw me in stadiums. He saw me doing all these weird things. And I'm not friends with this guy anymore, because what happened was, as I started to advance and mature in understandings of scripture and everything else, he got uncomfortable with it. He started thinking that I was deceived and blah, blah, blah. That always happens. There's a scripture in Galatians that says that we're all under tutors and governors until the time appointed, And then we basically, the heir is a co-heir. He thinks himself to be a slave. So the scriptures say that you're like an heir to everything. Okay, you're a co-heir. You're a child of God, or whatever you want to call it. But you differ nothing from a slave and a servant, because you think you're something you're not. He said that under tutors and governors until the time you find yourself. Then you'll be, so it's like we look through a glass darkly, a mirror. We look in a mirror that's obscured. But that day, which is the day I think we're entering into, you'll see yourself. You'll know as you are known. That's what the scripture says. You'll know as you are known. Think about that for a second. If you know yourself as you are known, who do you know? Okay, let's just leave it at that. But that's crazy when you really think about it. You'll be known as you are known. What? It's a weird thing. There's something about who we are, and if we've been blinded, man. Jesus healed the people that were blind. They couldn't see the truth. He healed the deaf. They couldn't hear the truth. He healed the lepers. He healed those that were unclean. He healed the people that couldn't walk. He said, look, your faith made you whole. People forget that. He always said, your faith did it. Isn't that something? Meanwhile, today, religion will teach you, you can't do that. Only Jesus healed people, right? Now, I'm not saying that we can go around healing people, because I know that that's a whole, when I was at the Christian network, believe me, I can't tell you how many people came over and said, they're going to lay my hands on my stomach, get rid of my Crohn's disease. I told these guys, I was given this for a reason. Why would I want it to be gone? I mean, there was a reason for it. There's a reason I have surgeries, and there's a reason because everything is working together for my good. So whatever's happening in my life, if I think that somehow God is cursing me, and that I'm supposed to be well what if I'm not supposed to be well, Rex? What if I'm supposed to endure addiction? I'm not saying that we should. What if I'm supposed to have cancer? I mean, I'm not saying that God forbid, I'm not saying that people should have cancer, but what I'm saying is, what if all of this doesn't matter at all? What if all of this is like, we're just, we're learning, and our suffering, which is but a moment, scripture says, in the grand scheme of things, is nothing compared to the glory that's going to be revealed. It's like, you think you're going to die when you're giving birth, but when that child comes, you forget about it all. I'm at a point, people look at me, they have no idea. They have no idea that I have ankylosing spondylitis. Because I do stuff that boggles the mind. When I got diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, I said, forget that. I'm not going to be a hunchback. I'm going to be that guy, which is interesting because when I was a kid, that was the thing I feared. I feared those people that are all hunched over. I feared it. Never wanted it. Never wanted it. Had to face it. That's the disease I have. Hey, how awesome is that? So what do? I'm like Mr. Stretch, bro. I lost 60 pounds, switched to almond milk. I'm eating more organic. I'm doing things like that you say to do on your channel. I'm taking care of myself more. 60 pounds gone in like a year and a half. That's it. People can do anything that they set their mind to if they believed, if they had faith. That's why when the guy was at the well and he was like, somebody help me up. I need a handout. I need someone to help me to get in. And Jesus is like, pick up your cot and get in. It's like, you don't need any help. Just pick up your cot and go home. What are you doing? You don't need help. None of you need help. You don't need to go to a church. You don't need to go to a temple. You don't need to go to a guru. You don't need to go to Rex. You don't need to go to me. You need to say, hey, I want to know who I am. And you'll get an answer, So I got the answer. Then I became the head writer of this Christian network, which is weird, all because huge wrestling fan. And yeah, then I got to write things that I believed. I actually created a cartoon. If you, I'm not going to tell you because then you'll get my Clark Kent last name. My last name's not Israel. Shh. But yeah, no. Yeah, I have a Clark Kent job. I have a Clark Kent job. This is who I really am. But I messed up on his last name, and so I don't like anything. I'm a little private guy. I'm a private guy.
Nothing wrong with that, especially when you read through some of the comments that people leave. I can understand that.
Are they bad ones? I'm sure some bad ones.
When you read, no, I mean, I'm not talking about this show. I mean, just some of any podcast. You could be helping your grandma out, or somebody else's grandma that's literally hasn't ate in a week, and so you bring her a bunch of organic food, and then would probably give you a hard time. Like, you need to give her the stuff that isn't organic because they grow that stuff with fertilizer, and they need to grow with synthetic stuff. Yeah. They need to inject her more. She needs a swine flu vaccine. How dare you tell her not to get injected or recommend that she doesn't get injected with thimerosal? How dare you give her advice and say that there's thimerosal in that shot that the doctor wanted to give her? You are a sinner. I mean, there's some freaky people out there.
I know, man. I know. And
I get it.
It's like, you can't see, this is the thing too, is, people don't know. I guess when you understand they don't know any better, it's easier to handle, because they've been, look, dude, you and I, we were blessed. We were woke up, we were given a gift. A light went on in us, but it only went on in us so we could help the light go on in others. And the only way we're going to reach others is by loving them and being a light and not doing what they do. That's why with Eminem, right? I didn't come on and say, how many people are like, I'm done, I'm subbed. Been watching you for over a year. You've changed my life. But how dare you be a fan of Eminem? I'm sure that's the way they sound in real life. That's the way it sounds in my head when I read it. But they don't even know any better. They've been conditioned and brainwashed to react that way. You share something, but there'd be like a little whispered thought in their head that will say, this is what he's saying, when I'm not even close to saying that. Oh my God, not even even in the same ballpark. And so what I always do is I never respond in anger. I keep heinous comments up because I want people to see how I react to it. Because I get a lot of these people that come back, Rex. A lot of these people, I used to condemn you and attack you. Man, I did a video about you. Man, I'm so sorry. That was something that was going on with me. Your videos have made a difference in my life, blah, blah, blah. And I know that. And the funny thing is that you have so many haters. I have so many haters that you don't remember them. So I tell people, don't feel weird when you come back. You don't have to apologize. Just come back. I won't remember this. I love you. No matter what, I'm cool with you. You saw something that wasn't there. That's not on me. That's on you. It's all good in the neighborhood. I just want to be a light, man. I just want to do my what I'm born to do, and it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Oh wow! Perfect time for a shameless plug. ladies and gentlemen, check this stuff out. I've been waiting to take a scoop for myself here. It's called colostrum, and especially when there's people out there that might want something to help with their digestive system, their digestive support. I'm going to take a tablespoon of this right here, and I'm serious, you guys. Whether you get it from Get the Tea or you get it somewhere else, if you do have those opportunities, maybe I would consider looking into it. That's just me. For me personally, this stuff gives me crazy energy. You guys see me sometimes when I'm amped up on this stuff. And also, I can, like the other day I was mentioning, I went out and saw a movie. I ate some gummy bears and some genetically modified popcorn with fake butter all over it. I asked for extra butter. And this stuff seemed to help, out. I didn't feel like I had a food hangover the next day. So anyway, I love it. It's called colostrum. It's super good for you. And, at least it is for me. I don't know how it's going to be for you, but just 1 tablespoon. Hello. Bingo. Ding dong. Nanu, nanu, nanu. Shapeshifters. So try it out. But anyway, because here's the deal. Once you get to that point, I think that you've seen things and done things and experienced things to make you what you are now. And it seems to me like now maybe you're ready to get rid of those labels that the doctors have prescribed you, or they've said you have. That's one of the things that I don't like about many doctors is because of their indoctrination. They'll say you have something and there's nothing you can do about it. All that you do, you're going to have Crohn's forever and we're going to have to give you all these drugs and it's just going to prevent it from having more problems or something like that. Well, I've met plenty of people that have literally quit taking all pharmaceutical drugs that they were on, and they feel amazing. And and you look great. You don't look like you have those ailments and those issues, and those opportunities. It's called opportunity.
I attack it naturally, first, and that usually. I mean, look, sometimes you need medicine. That's the bottom line. I mean, I've had to have a couple of surgeries because I was bleeding, and they need to stop the bleeding. But in the grand scheme of things, man, I'm healthy. I'm not like I don't even like to say I have because I really don't have it. Just kind of like it was a fad. I'm still diagnosed with it, but I'll tell you were right about the. I was diagnosed once long ago. I like to say this to people because people don't think that people like yourself and I have had issues and trouble. Man, I had issues. I when I was younger used to cut myself. I don't know if you can see that. But I was really messed up, man. They had me on, I didn't do it like normally. It was after they put me on a bunch. You have this, you have PTSD, you have this, you have that. And because I was having a hard time when I was younger and I went and I talked to somebody. Next thing you know, I have all these conditions that I don't have, but they told me that and I believed them because I was looking for a way out, but I was looking in the wrong direction. And next thing you know, they're giving me all these drugs, which actually make things like so much worse. Now I know that there are probably some drugs that help some people, so I'm not saying stop your drug. You gotta reconcile all this on your own, man. I am not a doctor. I'm just gonna tell you what's worked for me. And what worked for me was I wasn't getting better, I was getting worse. And every time I would say this isn't working, it was like, we just need to increase the dose. We're gonna tweak it with a different this. We're gonna give you a chaser of this. And it was out of control. So one time I was having this like little breakdown. And I was in a closet and I was on the ground and I was crying. And it's so funny. I had this thought, oh my God, what are you doing, man? Shut up. You can stop crying. You're like playing a game. And I realized, I'm like, wow, I can stop crying. I can get up and change my life. And that's exactly what I did. It was a thought. It was an instant. And I realized I was creating all of this nonsense. And and then to come out of it, then all of a sudden I was a victim and it was there. When you step away from everything and you realize that your life is your life to create, and I should say co-create, your life, if you go the right direction, you'll be rewarded. You go the wrong direction, it's going to get worse and worse and worse until you're put back on course. That's why, I don't worry about when I see terrible things happen and they end terribly. I don't believe that there's ever an end for sad stories. I believe that everybody eventually, as scripture says, reaps what they've sown. Not a penny more, not a penny less. You get what you put out. If that's a law, if you want to call it a law, whatever you put out, you're going to get back in return. And so I've been putting out a lot of hope and faith and love. And I've been, getting a lot of those points, if you will. It's not a point system, but you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm sowing more to the point where I started off little by little. I've always kind of been good natured and loved people, but I made it a point. I was almost for a while, I was faking it when I was younger. I was faking it. I was just saying things out loud because I know faith comes by hearing. It's like, I'm going to make a difference today in somebody's life. And then boom, someone will come in. I'm not going to think about this anymore. And this, we're going to reconcile this and we reconcile this. And right now, where I am right now, my wife and I, man, I love her. I've never met anybody who loves his wife as much as I love my wife. I've never met a wife that loves her husband as much. Now, that being said, man, it wasn't just too long ago, almost a couple of years ago, when she wanted to leave me. People go through things, and it's all because it's all course correction. So, she was going through. We found out that there was also a thing with. We're in our 40s. Stuff happens. And it's course correction. So what you do is you say, I'm going to take hold of this, and I'm going to turn this whole thing around. And we both turned it around together. And it wasn't even like. See, luckily, we really didn't have bad problems. But how many people right now, would just give up? I was heartbroken because I always was crazy in love with Dan. But my insecurity from my childhood, you start to believe some of the lies that are put in your head. And next thing you know, you're creating it. Because if that becomes your reality, that's your reality, man. If you're with somebody and you believe they don't love you, they're not going to love you in a short period of time, 6 months to a year. So keep believing it if that's what you want, or see the best in people. If you want to hate people, you're going to get it. There's a scripture, judge not lest ye shall be judged. This is a rule. This is a law. It's a key to the kingdom, which is righteousness, peace, and joy, right thinking, proper judgment. If you believe that Rex is an amazing guy, he's going to be an amazing guy in your life. If you think he's the worst, he's going to be the worst. So, yeah, man, life is great. We got to understand that the power of creation, that the power of life and death is in our tongue, and we got to seek more. We got to, because it's not my will. Look at all the things that came together in my life to get me to where could I say that that I did this? How could I do this? Crazy dreams, weird people coming up to me, emailing me going out of my comfort zone because I have a terrible nightmare. Was that me? Or was it maybe my subconscious mind, which is greater than my conscious mind, maybe, taking control? I don't know. I call it God, man. And I think that's ultimately who we all are innately. And if we all are, and I don't mean we're all God. God, I can't wait to the comments in that. What I mean is that we're all
you
one. You
Satanist.
Yeah, right. We're all one. We're all one. We're all part of the same string. And what I do to you and what I put out is 100% on me. So everything that's going on in the world right now, I can take the blame for. Sounds crazy, but I can take the blame for it. Maybe there's some hate in my heart that I need to get rid of. Maybe there's some, fear in my heart that I need to get rid of. And I think that that's what we need to do. We need to start with us, and we need to start by seeking. We need to realize that the day begins and ends with you, but really, ultimately, you're just a part that's being played. You're more than you know. Jim Carrey right now is being famously quoting for, I'm not here. I'm not here. And I think that people can take it the wrong way too. I think that they can make that a religion too. See, my idea is I just want to walk into my unique purpose, man, and shine a light for others to follow the way.
You know how, in my opinion anyway, I think that you're on your right path when the universe starts presenting things in front of you. God, right. The divine source, whatever your definition is of, if you believe there is an ultimate creation or a creator, if you think it's the universe, just, we're all a part of some software program or whatever. Right. But what it really comes down to is like what you're talking about. You dream things, you meet people, you do things in your life that take you on certain paths. So instead of looking at the negative, you look at the positive. You're definitely a glass half full person. I think that's awesome to be optimistic, because being optimistic therefore creates more optimistic opportunities, because
right.
You're really creating that. And what you talked to me about before yesterday, about how you kind of created and manifested your dream house to be put in an opportunity where you could purchase it, I think that's incredible too. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the, for those of you out there, I have mad respect for Christians. I was raised Christian. You guys are amazing. So when people say I'm not Christians, I don't. I give them an opportunity to look at things a little bit different that might help them expand and evolve consciously, spiritually, mentally, physically, etc. And how wouldn't it be great to get closer to God, to get closer to Jesus, if that's who you feel is your Savior, your Messiah? That's, I don't want to change that, but maybe think about all the things that have been put in front of you to prevent you from getting there, to keep you in certain paradigms to think you're not good enough.
Jesus, I tell you, this is the funny thing is that you got to remember, once again, see, this is what gets me, is that the reason people are so passionate and so they want to shut you down, Rex, you're not godly. I get this a lot. Jesus got it, man. He was put to death by the religious. He was put to death, right? I mean, and even the symbol of his life, if you look at it, the truth, because he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Yeah, it was put to death. The way, the truth, and the life was put to death at Golgotha, which is the place of the skull. So even the literal story is played out spiritually in us. I mean, the whole thing is we're crucified with Christ. The scriptures teach what Jesus taught was seek the Father, seek God. When this is the thing that kills me, people just don't know the scriptures. They just listen to the regurgitated nonsense that keeps them slaves and paying that tithe, because it's a business model, man. We got to keep our heads down, do our work, and then give part of our money away so they can live like kings. That's the business model. I get it, and the fear of being tortured endlessly is pretty motivating. I did a video on hell. If you want to know what hell really is, watch the video on hell, because it's right there. I mean, I've studied this for 20 years.
Give us an excerpt.
Well, I mean, okay, I'll give you an example. David, a lot of people say that hell is somewhere God is not. In the Psalms, David said, if I make my bed in hell, you are there. If I climb to the heights of heaven, you are there. There's nowhere that God can't be, basically. Jonah prayed from the belly of hell. He was supposed to do the right thing. He was supposed to go on the show and tell people about Planet Nine, right? He goes the other way. So his life became very difficult. And he ends up in the belly of hell, in this carnal place, this hard place where all of a sudden, things are really difficult. And then he has to stop and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? Let me get back on path. I'll do it. And then he goes off and he does it and things change. Hell is our circumstance. Hell is what I went through just a couple of years ago with my wife. That was hell, man. It's to feel like someone that you love more than anything doesn't love you as much. And when we found out, it really, the grand scheme of things, thankfully, it was a short period of time in my life. And we've had an amazing marriage. So I like to give people, I want to see relationships thrive, man. The problem is, the world is teaching you not to thrive. The world is teaching you to give up, to get out of there. And then what I end up doing, you get divorced and you get divorced again, you get divorced again, you get divorced again, because that's what the world's teaching you. It's keeping you miserable, breaking up the family unit, keeping everybody in slaves in bondage to this lie beast system, which the time is short, it's running short, which is why it's going to get a lot more crazy. But man, you could turn it around. You could thrive in your marriage. You can drop 300 pounds. People have done it. I saw someone do it in a couple of years at my gym. You could do anything that you set your mind to. That's what I want people to understand. And that's really kind of why I do what I do. But when people come against you, and they're going to say, oh, Jesus would never say to turn to God. Jesus wants you to 100% worship and pray to him. Jesus said to pray things in my name. He never said pray to me. Yeah, actually, when people said, how do we pray? He said, our Father. When the servant came over to him and said, good master, what must I do to be saved? He says, why are you calling me good? There is none that is good but the Father. In other words, what are you looking at me like I'm the answer for? The answer was in Jesus. Jesus reconciling the world onto himself. That's what the scripture says. God was in Jesus, reconciling the world unto himself. Guess what? The hope of glory is God is in Christ, is in us. That's the hope of glory. Christ in us. Jesus said, I go to my Father's house to prepare a place for you. Christians have been taught that it's a mansion in the sky where you're going to be wealthy, eating filet, looking great, never gaining weight. But we're the temple, we're the mansion that Christ is going to prepare the place is us. We're the place, because he ends up saying that where I am, there you will be also. I and the Father and me, and we and you. All about us coming together in one. The word come, Jesus comes again. Erchome in Greek, it means to be manifested, to be revealed, like as if something is hidden and all of a sudden it's uncovered. That's the day we're in. Now, a lot of Christians will say, yes, Christ will come in a spirit first, and maybe he's going to come as a single man, but we're meant to focus on our relationship. And the prophet Obadiah talked about saviors climbing Mount Zion. Saviors. I'm not the savior of the world. You're not the savior of the world, but the Christ is, and it's going to be, that's why the whole world is going to know, because you got a whole world of possibility. He says, you are the lights of the world, right? Didn't he say that? I'm the light of the world. You are the light of the world. And he says, don't hide it under a bushel. The bushel is the beast system, which is snuffing us out and keeping us ignorant and keeping us hating. And if you're in a religious system long enough, you're given that pride to think that you've done something better than somebody. And you think, oh, I got it made. And when I die, I'll finally be happy. That's what they teach you. They give you a carrot on the stick. Jesus, when Martha came to Jesus and said, I know on the last day he'll be raised, because Lazarus was dead. And he said, why are you crying? What are you worried about? He says, on the last day he'll rise. He said, man, I'm the resurrection and the life. If you believe on me, if you believe what I'm saying, right? I'm the way, the truth, and the life. How do you get to the truth? You got to know what I know. You got to do what I do. You got to be with me. One, together, combined. And he says that salvation will come on that day, not the last day. All you have to do is hear. And then the dead in Christ are raised. And death in Scripture is to be carnally minded. To be carnally minded is it's all about rising out of your ignorance and overcoming the lie, because the truth sets us free from the lie. All this stuff, it's really kind of simple. Like a kid can get it. It's better to love than to hate. That's as simple it is, Rex. So I do understand that religion has done a great job of making everybody attack the truth. I'm not saying that what I'm sharing is the truth. I don't tell anybody what to believe. I don't tell anybody that I'm 100% right. I just said, this is what I've learned. And I do. Anybody who says that I don't have faith, my goodness, man. I'm in prayer constantly. I'm seeking constantly. And I want to be completely submitted to God, whatever God is. But I don't know. He hasn't talked to me. All these interesting little coincidences. I see how everything's working together, and I'm sitting back and I'm going,
maybe that's how he talks to you.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm not going to go on and say, hey, the Lord told me that I'm going to be on your show, Rex, so you better get me on the show. But I had an idea months ago. That's why I left that one comment. I don't know how I'm here now, when I'm a fan of this show, and all of a sudden, boom, here I am. I don't know how I got on KJ's show. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but I do know that it's real. And I do know that each and every one of us, we think we're nothing. Jacob was called, he says, you worm, Jacob, you worm. That's the way we think we are. We think we're worms. Psalms 82, ye are gods. You're all children of the Most High, but you shall die like men and one of their princes, because you think you're nothing. You think you're a servant. It's in Galatians. You differ nothing from a servant until the day the light is turned on. That's the twinkling of the eye. That's that moment. There are two men in one bed. One is taken, one is left. Two women grinding at the mill. One is taken, one is left. Two. You always hear about that, the rapture teaching. And if anybody actually did their research, they would understand how it was created and who created it. I'm not going to tell you whether it's true or not, but I'll say that there are two nations at war within us. There's the truth and then there's the lie. One is taken, one is left. That word taken in Greek, paralambano, it means to be taken with something. Like you see a child and you're taken by the beauty and you smile. You're taken by, it also says to adhere to a certain set of new beliefs. So you're taken by this new paradigm shift in your thinking. It's not you're taken, poofed away, not one place to another. And then the word left means divorced, cast off. So in other words, there are two natures in us. There's the wheat and the tares. It's what the scriptures say, that God planted a vineyard, right? And then when the master slept, that the enemy came in and planted tares, which is we became ignorant. And in our ignorance, there was a bunch of lies that were planted in us. And guess what? They both grew up together. And then so the angels say, and an angel is a messenger of God. The word angel, it just means messenger. It means man, someone who has the word and sharing the word. It's the truth. And people get upset with me at that too. They get upset. They say, no, it was winged creatures. It's okay. It doesn't talk about that in the Bible. There's a lot more to it than really meets the eye. But, look the word up. It just means messenger. But long story short, the messengers say, should we come and pull out the tares? Should we go and express the truth so that the tare can be pulled away? And he goes, no, wait till they grow up together. Wait till you're mature. And then the wheat and the tares are there together in our life, right? In my life, I'm mature now. I can tell the difference between a truth and a lie, just like I can tell between mature wheat and a tare. A tare has no seed, it has no life in it, so it stands straight up, it's proud. The wheat bows its head in submission, and it's filled with life-giving seed. So it's easy for me to go in and take out the lie that no one likes me, the lie that I'm never going anywhere, the lie that I'll never get ahead. See what I'm saying? The lie that I'm nobody, the lie that I'm just a human being, the lie that I've evolved from a monkey. The lie, the lie. I mean, some people believe in evolution, whatever. I'm not saying it's not true. I don't believe in it personally. I don't want to even go there.
You don't believe that story, man? Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm not a monkey. I'm not a monkey. But I do believe, and I did a video on this too, because, evidence has proven now that mankind with the skull, the exact same kind as ours, is found it was thousands of years earlier. It was just discovered. So we've been here a lot longer. There's no missing link, man. There's probably a reason. So why wouldn't they keep us thinking that we're nothing but animals when in fact we are the children of the kingdom? I'm not going to say who that is, but there's a lot of us here. Maybe it's everybody, maybe it's not. I don't know. Who am I to say? I know I am. I have a feeling you are. Anybody who loves, I have a feeling you're in good company. And eventually you will submit to God. So it's all good, man. I got 5 more minutes. I'm so sorry. I want to say,
okay.
I got to take my boy to, everybody gets home at 3:45. And that's when daddy becomes super daddy. Today's my day off. And I get to take Ethan to his hockey. Then I got to take Shiloh to her party. And then I got so much to do. Then my wife and I are going to go to a pastaria and we're going to eat. Good stuff.
That's what I'm talking about, man. You keep it going. That's, off the hook. So first of all, thanks. It's been amazing to just hear what you have to say, and you put it together so eloquently. I think it's great. The live chat room has had nothing but amazing things to say. Thank you, moderators, as well. In closing out with the few minutes that we have left, please give the audience your YouTube channel, any information for if you have a website, what you're doing, where you're going, and anything you want to share before closing. Thank you so much, Jacob. It's been an honor.
Yeah. Oh my God, this has been such a blessing to me. Thank you, Rex. My website is jacobisrael.com. Simple. My website for my novel is jacobisrael.org. Very easy, very simple. YouTube, just Jacob Israel, I guess in quotes. You're going to see a lot of a lot of channels that share your videos. I'm sure they share. I don't care if they share my videos, as long as they credit it, it's fine. I mean, because it's all you're supposed to give it away for free. It's supposed to be bought, not sold. So I'm not selling anything. I'm just, I'm here. Some people why are you touching this topic? Because I felt inspired to do it. I do have a novel, which is interesting. I'm going to grab it because I really love this book. And I don't on my show, Rex, I don't really promote it. I don't tell people to go buy it. People buy it, which is great. And the reason is that I had a Christian publisher, right? And they stole thousands and thousands of dollars from authors like me. And now they're out of business. They were sued by Xerox. But anyway, I still walked away with a very nice book. It's called The Calling. And I have a lot of really cool stuff in it. If you told me when to stop, let's see if something cool comes out of it. You tell me when to stop. Stop? Okay, I'm going to stop right here. I don't know where we stopped exactly. It's the end of the book.
I said now, but I was on mute. So you want to do it one more time? Let's do it one more time.
That's okay. No, that's all right.
Okay, we're good.
It's I stopped at a poem. Okay, it's cool. I write poems. Every chapter starts with a poem. And by the way, the poems are written by Thomas James. I wrote it. I wrote the book. So it's not really the character, but you get into the world of it. It's time for excuses in our lives to be gone. For the time to truly live our lives has begun. It's time for the rising of the sun. No longer alone, no longer blind, deaf or dumb. It's time to finally have some fun. Who, oh who, will choose to win instead of lose? Who, oh who, will race toward blue skies instead of gray? It's time to do this, I must say. For you are the reason for everything that comes your way. The time is now, no more ifs, ands, buts, or hows. For excuses to be gone, it's time to live as children at play. And then, of course, the chapter then begins. And every poem works with the chapter. It's a great story about a 12-year-old kid and child. And a lot of it, had to do with but if you look at even the cover, which I love, my wife kind of helped me with this. Starts off like, the book starts off, this is the way life seems. And then you cross over to the end of the book, and then all of a sudden, this is where life is. And it's just a story, man. It's an allegory. And I'm just really excited about where I'm going next. I just got to find another publisher now. I don't know what I'm going to do. We're going to see. Let's see.
The grass really is greener on the other side.
On our other side, not on somebody else's. Right. It's true.
Right on.
Nightmare, which can be heaven when we wake up to it. So thank you so much, Rex.
Thank you so much. You have a great day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Make sure to be the change you want to see. Be excellent to each other and have a beautiful day. JacobIsrael.com. Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Bear Leak Project, how the heck are you? I have to hit a couple more buttons before we start the show. I have the man, the legend, the way of life, Jacob Israel with us. This guy is awesome. He shared some information with me yesterday, and I said, man, can I just hit the record button now? Because his life story is amazing, and what has brought him to the point that he is at now is absolutely nothing short of incredible. He used to be a producer and writer for the World Wrestling Entertainment industry, the WWE. He's also worked with very large Christian channels and made them grow extremely fast. And if you've never talked to him before or heard what he has to say before, once you listen to Jacob, you're going to understand why. So we're going to talk about what it's like in those industries, what it was like for him, his prophecy, his connections on prophecy. Even though I'm agnostic, what he presents to the table makes a lot of sense. So this is really exciting. It is an honor to speak with you, Jacob. How the heck are you, my friend?
Man, are you kidding me? I'm cloud nine. I'm excited. I'm so happy to be on your show. This is really weird because I'm first of all, I'm a big fan of yours. And I have been for, the YouTube world has just opened up in like leaps and bounds and over just the last year because my channel's kind of just exploded. And I was introduced to the world that you are like one of the great lights here, man. And we were talking about this yesterday. We're kind of patting each other on the back. And it's weird because months ago, I put an intention out there. I said, man, this guy, he's just such a great interviewer. And he's just, he's so open and he's not judgmental and condemning, and he's got this great spirit. And I know he has a faith in something, and he's like meant to do great things. And I just really want to be on the show because he's a much bigger channel. No, but
at your pace that you're growing though, man, not for long.
So what ended up happening was I put a comment on one of your videos. I did the same thing on KJ, Scariest Movie Ever, because I'm also a fan of his. And it's interesting. He interviewed me, and now here you are doing the same. And it really has a lot to do with my life and your life and everybody else's life. It's kind of like operating in this is like that this is a plan to corrupt you, to keep you ignorant. I'd be writing these things and I'd be bringing them to Vince to approve the copy. And he'd say, this is great. Expletive, but I got to tell you, I enjoyed my time there. I made some very good friends.
Did you meet The Rock as well? And
I wrote for The Rock, man. I wrote for him.
You guys would actually?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, okay. Of course.
What are these people? Let me jump in real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt. Your energy's off the hook. I love it, but I know that I can hear what some of the questions are going through. I can just hear the minds of some of the listeners. So I'm exaggerating, but what are these guys like in person? For example, The Rock. He's probably running for president in 10 years.
Listen, and just an amazing guy, because he was, when I came in, you got to remember, I had just done, I went to school on scholarship for acting. I started a theater group. I started a theater company, had some off-Broadway plays. I was doing like an independent film at the time when I met Shane, but I was a nobody, like in the grand scheme of things. Like this was like everything working together to put me in a place that would which is interesting because Jacob wrestled. It's sorry, but I'll get into that later too. Jacob wrestled. He was known for wrestling. Do you know that I actually took over another wrestling show just about a couple of years ago called Traditional Championship Wrestling? Because I had said to my wife, I said, I miss wrestling. I'd like to be given full reign and be able to do whatever I want. And then I got this call from this amazing guy, Matt Riviera. And he said, hey, would you like to take over my show? And then we became like the third largest at the time. And I got to, put myself on TV, which was always, but the last time I was in the ring, true story, he was wrestling a wrestler named Angel, and I got involved in a match and I choked him out, which is really kind of weird because I think he ended up with a hamstring tear too. So he ended up walking away from the match with a limp. It's kind of weird how, like, symbolically, Jacob wrestles the Angel, he walks away with the limp. Like, here we are on the other side. And I didn't recognize any of this till I got on the plane. But no, Rock was a great guy. Salt of the earth, really nice, very encouraging. He wasn't my main guy. My main guys were I had a lot of guys. Taker, Glenn, which is Kane. I mean, it was basically, I don't know, Golden Rule, which is, all things are possible with faith, and if you do for the betterment of others, you get great joy and peace in the process. So yeah, man, I'm fired up. I have been a writer, sure. WWE. I was one of the two writers, actually. I was one of the head writers between '99 and 2001 when they were getting slaughtered by WCW, and I came in and I was kind of this green guy, and it's amazing how all this worked out because I went to college on scholarship. I was too sick for sports. So because I have this thing called Crohn's disease and I was in and out of the hospital when I was young. And I ended up going to school on scholarship for like acting because I couldn't do sports. And that was kind of like, I didn't have, the best childhood. Like my mom she was a single mom. We were, poor in a very wealthy town. My biological father took off and, it's childhood. Kids can be mean, especially when you're sick. And taking medication, they called me half a pizza. No, but life was good. And I had this, belief that I was going to go on and do these things. And I believed since I was a kid, I was going to be a writer for WWE, which is weird because where I grew up, they had an office, about 5 minutes away. So we'd ride our bikes there. And I kind of intended from when I was a kid that I'd be the writer. So I came in when they were getting beat by WCW. And within about a year's time, about a year and a half's time, we basically took them over. Vince became a billionaire and everything changed. I created a couple of great groups. There's I don't know if you know who Stevie Richards is, but he's a good friend of mine. He has a channel on YouTube. It's a great channel. He's really into fitness and he's also into this world as well, trying to get out of this world, I should say. And so I created this group called The Right to Censor. Vince had wanted to do something on censorship, so I saw it as an opportunity because I believe that I wasn't there. It wasn't like that wasn't my job, but I felt like I was like sent there so that I could sort of learn how to influence people. And so what I did was I'd write these things. I don't even think Vince knew what I was putting on the air at times, especially with Stevie's group. And slowly but surely, what I did was basically just me and this guy Brian Gewirtz. He was a very talented young man, but we didn't really gel too much. It wasn't a pleasant environment for me because I'm not in that world, and a lot of these amazing talents were very, I would say, lost but a lot of them were just beautiful people. I mean, I have so many friendships that I'm in Mick Foley's book. Foley is Good. He actually put me in the forward of his book because we would talk about writing, and he wanted to write novels and he wanted to write kid stuff and he wanted to write comedy, and I wrote for him for a long time and I got to do a lot of great comedy stuff. I put myself on the show. Hey, if you guys want to, if you don't believe me, you can just YouTube Trish Stratus. I started her. I was her writer, and I used to give her acting coaching in the back. She was another amazing person. Trish Stratus Dating Game. I actually put myself because they actually gave me this show called Sunday Night Heat, which was in the city. And what I did was I wanted to turn it into a more of like a talk show. Like I actually convinced Vince to turn the show into like a variety show. So we did this show called The Dating Game. And I'm actually on it, which is pretty funny. I play this really goofy guy from New York named Tommy, who was a friend of mine. I was kind of, razzing him a little bit. But I felt like I was there for a reason. I knew that wasn't my career. I knew that I was going to leave. I knew that I was going to end up in some kind of faith-based television because, like I said, I'd read the Bible on his plane. And I'd be listening to music, and Vince's big joke was...
He said that bothered him, right?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, everybody's having fun and I'm in the back and I'm reading the Bible. It's like, it's a little awkward. I get it. But I never really felt like I liked Vince. I worked out with him. I didn't have any problems with anybody. They treated me very nice. I heard stories of how, unfair they could be. I mean, Vince yelled at me once. And it wasn't really, he doesn't know to this day, but it wasn't even my fault what happened. But you took the blame. You just did it. But Vince was a great guy. I liked working with him. Now I know a lot of people are going to go blah, blah, blah. I've tried to turn the show from it was really graphic and it was really vulgar. And I believe that was just cheap. And it seems like that's the way the direction that entertainment has gone today. It's very hard to find very quality programming right now, which is why I love YouTube, because it at least provokes thought. So I decided to slowly but surely kind of create this group called The Right to Censor. And, I also wrote for Rock and Stone Cold, and Undertaker was my guy, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley Paul was my guy.
What was that like?
Oh, it was intimidating at first. But, like, I'm a guy that I was on the plane with Vince, and he used to make fun of me because I'd be reading the Bible. Like, I'm a man, I was sick growing up, very sick. So, when you're sick and you're facing, like you could die and, things aren't that great, you start to say, well, hang on a second, there's got to be more. So even early on, because my biological father abandoned me, and, so I had this idea that there was this other life waiting for me and that everything was sort of working together for my good, because why else would I be so sick? Why else would I have to go through all this if it wasn't meant to be? So every step of the way, every hard thing that's come my way, man, it has been like a springboard. Like, I broke my neck, true story. I broke my neck. I was working at the boys club when it was the boys club. I was a counselor there. And I was doing pull downs at the gym and the wire snapped and I broke my neck. And it was because I broke my neck that I actually wrote my first play, which is it's Hook, Line, and Sinker. It's up there on the wall. And I would have never become a writer and gone into television and had like a 20+ year career in TV if I hadn't broke my neck, if I hadn't been sick, if I hadn't gone into acting. So my whole life has always been lived with this great feeling that there is more. I have a purpose. And so working at the WWE was interesting because I always felt like they don't really know who I am. I felt like an outsider, but yet I had such great creative control. To be able to write and steer an audience into a direction, to be able to write things like, look up The Right to Censor, just watch any of their promos where, I would say that Vince is, slowly but surely demoralizing the youth. And I'd be saying things